Okay, good morning, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to HCMF School Holidays. This morning, we're joined by Fraser Merrick, and he's going to be showing us how to use online tools to make music, which is super cool. I'm really excited about it. So just a little notice, we've got one more thing tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. So please join in again. And I hope you've all had a lovely week tuning into these broadcasts. Right, are you ready? Are
Excellent.
you ready, Fraser?
Am I ready? Let's find out.
Yeah.
Cool. Hello, everyone. Hi, my name's Fraser. I am a musician, sound artist, inventor. I like to play around with technology. I do things like designing my own instruments. I do things like circuit bending instruments. Here is an absolute monstrosity that I made. This is a little Furby that I circuit bent, and it makes cool sounds. This is what a Furby looks like without its fur. Quite gross. And something else that I've made. This is an instrument I made called the Photon Smasher, and it turns light into sound. So if that's something you're interested in, you can find that online. But yeah, that's a kind of an idea about who I am and what I do, the kind of music I make. What I want to show you today is some fun and free websites that you can use to make music. Now, when we think about learning to make music or even music technology, we can think about really expensive bits of it. Like, it's easy to think about really expensive bits of technology, Apple computers, expensive headphones, posh keyboards, things like that. But you can actually do a lot with what you might already have access to. So if you have a smart device, a smartphone, a tablet, or a laptop, there's some amazing tools out there that are completely free to access. So there's no sign up required. So if you're under the age of 13, sometimes it can be a bit tricky to create accounts on websites because you don't have access to an email address, or the one you do doesn't allow you to access certain websites. So what I've done is I've done a bunch of research, and I've found some tools that allow you to get making music without having to worry about creating accounts, freeing up space on your laptop or your tablet to download a new app, trying to get someone's password. None of that. We can forget about all of that stuff, and you can just focus on making really cool music. So I'm going to share my screen, and I'm going to show you a couple of really exciting things. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to talk a little bit about this. So ESafety. So it's worth bearing in mind, we are going to be using computers. We are going to be using the internet, and there's a couple of things to consider when we are using the internet. Now, a lot of these websites we'll be using are kind of closed environments. So it's a website where you are going to use a tool. It's not necessarily a way of communicating with others, but there are other websites out there that I might mention briefly that allow you to talk to others. So rule of thumb, don't talk to strangers on social networking sites. Never meet up with people that you don't know. Never post inappropriate pictures, and don't give any personal details on the internet. You don't know who can access this. Now, I'm sure these are things that you might be familiar with from school, but it's always worth bearing them in mind and having that in the back of your head when you're starting to use the internet for making music. Another thing I'd add to this maybe would be things around payments on websites. So if a website is ever asking you for money, always check with an adult first before you give over any personal details like that, especially things like money. So just bear that in mind as you're using the internet. And then the other one to think about that's not on here is more of a well-being one. So we're going to be using our computers, using our devices to make music. Before you know it, you can end up spending a couple of hours staring at a screen. Now, you might be doing really exciting, educational, creative things, but don't forget to take some time away from the computer as well. Arguably, you can have some of your best creative ideas when you're not actually doing that task. So don't forget to take a break every once in a while, get up, stretch your legs, grab a glass of water, and then come back later on in the day. So just bear that in mind. Okay, let's start with some music. So the first website we are going to look at today is a website called Beatbox. And when you load it up, this is what you see. So the website here is beatbox.co, and it is a sequencer. So we can see down the bottom here, Beatbox is an online tool for sketching and sharing instrumental melodies. Now, when we first load it up, you get this big grid. And you can see as I move my mouse over it, it sort of highlights the boxes. And what we can do is we can click in different places. So I've just drawn a melody there. So on our y-axis is pitch. So the higher I go up, the higher the pitch of the note. And then on our x-axis, so across, is time. So the note is going to play first on the left, and then it's on, and then it will move right. So as I press play, you'll see it will play this melody. Now that's a fairly simple melody, but that's only one instrument. What I can do actually is I can, click on down here so we can see that one inside the blue square. This is our sort of first layer. If I click on the second layer, the yellow one, I can now add another instrument. Now it's given me a recorder, and I've played a quite low note. It sounds a bit bassy, so let's see how those two sound together. So pretty straightforward. But I can go a bit crazy. I can start drawing things. And you can also do things like adding some reverb. I can make really long notes as well. Let's do this. Do some chords. And I can just add more instruments as well. So you can see really quickly, you can actually start to build up layers of sound. Now, the numbers down here actually relate to sort of sequences. So that's number one. That's kind of like, that's my number one melody. If I go to this square, you can see it's still number one, so it looks like that. But if I change that to a 2, it's now gone blank, and I can do something entirely different here. Oh, wrong one. I can start to draw a different melody. And you can see now how you can actually piece together like a whole performance. So you could take 4 instruments, have lots of different melodies and phrases, and actually create a whole performance. So it's not the most beautiful looking website, but it's really powerful with what it can do, actually. I'm not going to dive into it too much because we are short on time today, but a couple of like really exciting features that I think are, if you go up here on the right-hand side, you can copy the URL for the song. So you can actually get a unique link to this song. So if you want to share your song with someone else that you create in this website, you can copy that link and then you can send it to them, and they will be able to open it up and listen to it, which is really cool. You can also do things like, you can, where has it gone? You are able to download the songs as well. Oh yeah, here we go, export song. So if I click export song, I can export it as a WAV file. Or I could also export it as a MIDI file. So if you are familiar with things like GarageBand, Logic, Ableton, etc., you can download that MIDI file from this website and put it into your software of choice, and then use it to create more comprehensive compositions. So that's a really cool website to start off with. Let's jump on to our next website, and this is 808.303.studio. Now, this is a website for making electronic music, specifically the genre of acid house. So this emulates the Roland TR-808, which is a rhythm composer, like a beat machine. And then it also emulates the TB-303, which is a bass synthesizer. It looks gorgeous, really beautiful looking website. And it's quite fun to compose with. So unlike the previous website where we had lots of different melodies, this only gives us sort of one bar to play around with, but it makes it really fun to kind of change that live. So you can actually kind of live compose. So if I press start here, we've got our cool little drum beat. So you can see it's really immediate. I mean, it sounds great straight away. Whereas the previous website gave us like a blank canvas, which can be great if you know what you're doing, but a bit daunting if you're not sure where to start. This gives you a nice kind of funky little drum beat to begin with. So you can just press start and just, click in different places, work out what's happening. And yeah, so from there, you can start to kind of build up these really, really cool rhythms. A really exciting thing about this website is that you can record your performance and it puts it as a YouTube video, which is great. So you can press start. You press start, then you can press record, and it will give you it will record anything you play next over this, and then it will give you a little video that you can download. So you could do a little jam, and then you get a really cool video that you can upload wherever you like. So I'm going to stop that now and cancel that. So that's a really, really cool website. And I love that you can kind of do little filter sweeps on the bass as well, which is really nice. So as you might have seen there, as I did before. So you can have some real fun, like feeling like you're a DJ at a club, and sort of like programming this really cool bass line, and messing with the filter sweeps and all those kind of things, and just improvising. It's really fun for that. Okay, so that's looking at a genre called acid house. We are going to sort of stay in sort of percussion territory, but now we are going to have a look at a website called Type Drummer. Now, I know I'm throwing a lot of different websites at you, but there is a link that you can find a blog post that has all of these websites in. So I believe it was in the event description. If not, I think Sophie might put it in the chat. But there is a blog post on my website that shows you all of these websites that I'm going to mention today in one place. So don't worry about trying to remember all these different links. They're all in one place that you can look at later on. So just in case you're worried. Okay, this next website is called Type Drummer. And what's really cool about Type Drummer is that it turns your typing keyboard into a sort of percussion machine, because it will turn characters into sounds. So if I type the word hi, you can hear how it actually associates a sound with every letter. So if I type just the letter H, oh, he says, we've got that sort of soft percussion. And then I'm going to put the I afterwards, which sounds a bit like a shaker. And then a space acts like a pause. 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, like that. So you can have loads of fun turning like poetry into like drum beats, or even the simple things to start off would be like your name. So if I write my name, let's try. Oh, that sounds cool. But you could also, you could go a bit crazy and put like a whole essay in there. Like, imagine what would happen if you typed in, I don't know, something really long. I can't think of anything really long. But you could write a whole sentence. You could take like a haiku or a limerick or a poem and put it in there, and you've now got a score for that. So this is really cool. And it's really nice to use alongside some of those other tools. And we'll look at that a bit later on about how we can combine some of these things together. Okay. Oh, again, this one you can also share as well, like with Beatbox. You can click share this beat and it will give you that unique URL that you can share with other people. It's a really nice feature that a lot of these websites use. So moving on, this is one of the most fun music making websites that I think I've ever used. And this is called Scribble, which is really fun to say. But this turns drawing into sound. So you can see the first thing you see when you load it up, it says draw something. It gives you a little command. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mouse and I'm going to draw a circle. So you can see what it's done is it's taken my drawing and it's put it in like a bar of 4. So what I can do now is that's playing the note C, which you can see on the keyboard at the bottom here. If I change that to a G and then go, I'm going to draw another shape. And it now starts to build up these layers. There's a couple of things you can do to sort of change the sound. So I'm going to change it to a sine wave, which is sort of a more rounded kind of sound. Before it was a square wave, which is a bit harder. And I'm going to go. So I've added a bit of bass. I can change my loop length and start to add. So you can start to build up these really beautiful melodies. And it's got really beautiful visuals as well. The only slightly frustrating thing with this website is that you can't press stop. So that's it. This is us now. We just have to stay here. Now, you can record on this website. Let's mute that. You can record on this website, so you can press the record button in the top right and it will give you a file that you can download, which is really nice. So that's something to bear in mind. Okay, let's move on. That's a really beautiful website. I don't know how well it would have come through on the screen screen share, but the animations are really beautiful. So I recommend playing around with that one. It's also really fun on a tablet because you can draw a bit nicer than you can, say, with a mouse. Okay, so let's look at this next website. This is the website called Add Texture. So a lot of the websites we've been looking at so far have been very, very musical. They've been like very beat-based, very percussive, and very kind of on a grid, very rigid. What's really exciting about this website, about Add Texture, is it's kind of like the antithesis of that. It's the opposite. So this website is more about sound, and it uses a lot of field recordings. So it's a way of introducing like texture into your compositions. So they've got a really nice description actually down here. So whether whenever the sounds you're working with need a bit of roughing up or need a refresh or a different perspective, give texture a try. So it's a way of adding some uncertainty into your compositions. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click this little button in the top right, which is the unmute button, and we'll hear what soundscape we've got in front of us. So we've got lots of sliders here, and what these are volumes for different sounds. Now, when you first load up the website, it will randomly pick 6 sounds. You don't know what they are. If you don't like the ones that you get, you can click this shuffle button and it will give you a different selection of 6 sounds. I think there's something like, over 3 trillion unique combinations of audio loops. So yeah, you'll never get the same selection twice, I promise. So let's have a listen to what we've got here. And we can just click on anywhere on this line and it will give you that level. So this is like a little knocking sound. What's that? Is that some rustling? Like a receipt being rustled. Like a metal drum, maybe. Ooh, that's nice. A metal bowl, perhaps, or a gong. Oh, this is my favorite one. It's like, I think this is like the DLR in London, pulling away. Or any sort of train. So what's really powerful about this website is it's what kind of context you use it in. So imagine maybe you're telling a story and you want like a backing track to your story, and you could introduce some sound design as you get to the scary part. Or maybe it's in a really quiet section of a song you're doing or a performance and you want some nice texture in the background. You might be able to find like a fire sound, a crackling fire, or you could be talking about, say, being in London and have that sound of that train there. There's kind of lots of opportunities to add texture to your compositions. And you can get, so like a lot of the other websites, you can get this shareable URL. So you can get this link that gives you that exact combination of sounds. And you can see as I change the sliders, it actually changes the link. That's really satisfying to see. So it will make sure you get the volumes exactly as you set them as well. So that's a really wonderful website for putting together your own soundscapes. Really, really exciting. But what I want to show you now is how we can put all of those things together into a performance. So in true Blue Peter fashion, here is one I made earlier. So I'm going to press play on a couple of the different websites. Now, what I found doing this is that some websites have a little bit of latency, and you might find they kind of slip in and out of time a little bit. So it's not going to be as perfect as, say, if we were using GarageBand or Ableton, etc. But considering that all these websites are free, it's incredibly powerful. So I'm going to press play. I'll tell you what, actually, let's start with Roland because that's the trickiest one. Hey, there we go. So you can see relatively easily, we managed to put together like a little mini jam session there, like a performance, just using free websites. So we had some kind of nice string sounds, like a pad sound coming from Beatbox. We had like that main groove coming from the Roland 808 and the 303. It was really fun kind of playing with the frequency sweeps on that bass line. And you could hear me hopefully changing some of the sounds on the drum beat as well, so that it complemented the other percussion. And I was trying out different kind of combinations of sounds using Type Drummer. So I kept my sequences quite short because it was quite loop based. So I used Oi, Oi Hi, which is quite a satisfying little phrase. I recommend that one. And then, yeah, Add Texture was a really nice way of kind of putting it all together into a performance. There's one last website I'm going to show you today. And that is a website called Ocean, which is an amazing website. Now, this is a bit similar to some of the other ones we've seen. So it is a beat sequencer. So I can sequence different sounds in here and I can sort of tell them when to play. So we've got time going across the screen, left to right, and we've got the different sounds on our y-axis. So you put one sound in and then you can tell it where to play. So this is a beat that I had in here already. So you got a sort of general beat there. In the left-hand side here, you have got like a browser, and these are lots of different drum sounds or sort of general samples, sorry. And you can actually drag those in. So this one here, Ocean Wave, I'm going to drag that in onto this top channel, and it's now changed that. So I've now got an ocean sound. Turn it down as well. And there's lots of other things you can do as well. So you've got this little the tortoise and the hare that changes the pitch. So if I were to use, say, the cowbell sound, let's have a look at this. Change. So you can hear as I move that slider towards the right, it played the sample quicker, which means that as you shorten it down, it goes up in pitch. So we're sort of squeezing it. So it's trying to play the whole sample quicker. So think of it like your chipmunk voice effects. You've now gone up in pitch. Whereas if I went the other way, more towards the tortoise, then it will play lower, down in pitch. Sounds a bit like I'm hitting a big drum at this point. So that's really cool with this website. It's a really simple way of putting beats together. You can change your tempo at the top. But the most powerful feature of this website is the fact that with this link, you can visit this website and you can make music with me at the same time. It's really amazing. You don't have to have an account. There's no sort of sign up or download involved. Sophie's got the link. So Sophie, if you want to put that in the chat, if anyone's watching live, then this is going to stay up online, by the way. So even after today, you're able to visit this link and you can kind of keep playing around with this. So, feel free to completely change this drum beat into whatever you want it to be. So if you're free, please do visit this link now and join in the jam session. What I'm going to do is I've got this website set to 120 BPM, which is the same tempo I've got on some of those other websites I was using earlier. So I'm going to sort of introduce Ocean into this kind of performance, but I'm going to hand it over to you all, the audience, to join in and change some of the sounds of the performance as we're going. So I can see some people changing things already. That's great. So I'm going to press play now and I'm going to start to add in some other websites, but the changes you make will then be on the live stream. So, I'm going to hand it over to you now. The only thing I ask is that please don't change the tempo because then it will go out of sync. But hey, if that's what you want to do, that's cool. That's fine. I'm not going to stop you doing it. So we'll do this for another minute or two and then we'll wrap up. So let's have a go at jamming together collaboratively. Here we go. Oh, I love this alien sound. My other alien pet bird. That was incredible. That was so much fun. I'm loving the squeaky sounds. I'm going to play one more time. Let's have a listen. Some really wicked sounds in here. This my other alien pet bird is particularly exciting. That's cool. Thank you to everyone who joined in. That was really cool. That worked really well. I'm really happy. Brilliant. Thank you so much. So hopefully that gives you an idea now how you can combine some of these websites together, because it's not just about using them in isolation. It's about thinking of them as an artist, as a performer, as a musician. How could you use this website alongside maybe even something in the real world? Could you get your guitar, your piano, your recorder, your violin, whatever you have access to? Could you use one of these websites as a backing track? Could you use a combination of these websites as a backing track? So think about them, put your artist hat on and think about how you could use them and how you could stretch them and go further with them. And kind of keep experimenting with them. So if you've enjoyed using any of these websites or seeing me talk about them, then like I say, there is a blog post that there should be a link to in the chat. And this is on the clipsoundandmusic.uk website. And it's a big list of all these websites with links to them and what I enjoy about them. And there's all the information on there should you need it. So brilliant. So thank you very much. Like I say, my name has been Fraser, and thank you for joining in with the jam session today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and I think we're going to hand over back to Sophie.